episode of What the Tech is brought to you by Casper. Now is the perfect time to give Casper a try yourself or to gift Casper to someone you care about. For a Black Friday or Cyber Monday deal, head over to casper.com/savings to save 10% off on your entire order with any Casper mattress. For a limited time only, this offer expires on November 27th. Terms and conditions apply.
What the tech?
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Zarin. Of course, I'm joined by my favorite person this week, Paul Thurrott.
Andrew, I'm thankful for you as well.
And I am thankful for you.
Okay, well, it's good talking to you. Yeah. Have a good Thanksgiving.
I don't know what happened. It just, I had a little hiccup in the audio here. Guys, this is What the Tech. We talk about technology. We talk about all the things that we love about technology, all the things that we dislike about technology. This is probably one of the longest running tech, weekly tech podcasts on the internet at this point.
Wow.
I would probably say that it is, it's up there in,
because everything I do is old.
It's up there in age at this point, but we've been doing it for a long time and absolutely love doing it. And this is, you know, around the holidays, we kind of go to a scheduled, way of doing shows. And this week, we're going to talk about holiday items and what I personally think people should be buying for the holidays and giving as gifts or for themselves or things that I'm personally looking forward to. So we're going to have that. Obviously, we're going to have our Black Friday episode, which today would kind of fall into that, which if we find any good Black Friday deals, obviously, we'll talk about it. Guys, if you're watching this live, submit it in the chat so we could talk about it because I have a couple Black Friday deals that I was very interested in. And I think we're going to do our best of, our worst of, and our yearly prediction show. So Paul generally draws if we do best of or worst of first. So which one would you want to do? Best of or worst of first?
I think best of first.
Okay. Last year we went worst of first.
We did.
Yeah,
okay.
and you said we had so much fun crapping on everything. We should do it last.
Yeah, see, right. Yeah, because it kind of sets up the other stuff for failure.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're going to do our best of, our worst of, and obviously our 2019 prediction show. I cannot believe we're talking about 2019 right now. So we do have a lot to talk about today, and obviously some other tech stuff that came up and some other news in tech that's come up we'll talk about. But before we continue, I do want to talk about our great sponsor, a friend of the show, a friend of mine, and that's Casper. And guys, listen, this is the perfect time to give a Casper mattress a try for yourself or a gift to somebody. As you know, this makes for an unbelievable mattress. Paul and I have been talking about the Casper experience, I call it. Sleeping on a Casper. My personal experience with sleeping on a Casper. I've spoken about this a couple times, and I constantly reiterate how for a lack of a better term, life-changing this mattress was to me. And it was because I actually have a herniated disc in my neck. I got 4 bad discs in my back, and at the time when I got hurt, I went down to one of these big box mattress stores, and I told them my situation. They made me lay on this bed, and they said, "Oh, your back's an 18, but your legs are this and that." At the end of the day, they sold me like a $3,000 mattress, which not cheap, but it was it was one of the better mattresses over there. And it was the most miserable sleep I've ever had. And you know what? I couldn't do anything about it because it was a month and a half into having this mattress that I realized I absolutely hated it. When Casper came on board, I got a Casper mattress, and it's been amazing ever since. And they have a great deal going on. For Black Friday or Cyber Sunday, you can head over to casper.com/savings. That's casper.com/savings, and you save 10% on your entire order with any Casper mattress. This is for a limited time, obviously, and the offer expires on November 27th. Terms and conditions do apply. This is a Black Friday and Cyber Monday deal that's going on. You can save 10% off on your entire order with any Casper mattress by going to casper.com/savings. That's casper.com/savings. 10% off. That's a great deal. Obviously, this is the time to try it out. And also, you know why this is a great time to try it out? You get 100 nights to try this mattress out. If it doesn't work for you, guess what? Risk-free, you send it right back. Free shipping and free returns in the U.S. and Canada. You could order online, and it's delivered to your door. This is my favorite mattress. I constantly sell this to people on a regular basis. I mean, it's become a big joke that Andrew does live reads for Casper Mattress in his personal life. If I'm sitting at a bar and I hear someone talk about mattresses, I just tell them, listen, you got to check out a Casper mattress, 100-day trial to check it out. Listen, great guys. These mattresses are good. You can take my word for it. I love it. Paul uses it. These are real items that we all each use. Casper.com/savings. Offers good till November 27th. Terms and conditions apply. Do apply. This is for their Black Friday, Cyber Monday, 10% off. So, Paul.
Yes, sir.
The holidays are here. Everybody's freaking out over Black Friday deals.
Sure.
You know, I do want to ask you if what is enticing you this holiday season? You know, last year it was a lot about home automation, which I think it's still big. You know, the Echo and the Google Home and all this other stuff that was a big thing last year as well. And I think this year too, these smart speakers and is that the term now for them? Smart speakers?
Yeah, it is a term. I mean, the problem is that there are different kinds of smart devices and that are not all speakers. They're smart displays, you know. So, but yeah, yeah, that's definitely
like the Echo, right? That's a smart speaker, or the Google Home.
Right.
Well, Google Home says it's a smart assistant.
Yeah, it's a smart speaker.
Smart speaker. Is there anything standing out to you this you know, around this Black Friday time? That, you know, what does Paul want?
I spent a lot of time looking at the stuff. What I've discovered this fall, especially, and this isn't going to be profound to a lot of people, but it was really hammered home with all the phone testing I did this year, is that, you know, some new thing is not necessarily going to change my life at this point. And I find myself more often than not being disappointed in some of this stuff. And so, you know, Google is having a great sale at their Made by Google store online, you know, made by Google or the Google store, or whatever it's called. You can get the Pixel book for $300 off, for example. It's a good deal. I don't know if you want a Pixel book. There's going to be tremendous sales on the Pixel 3 and Pixel 3 XL over the next few days. Those phones are dumpster fires, and no one should ever buy one. So it's kind of hard to recommend that to somebody.
The Pixel
3. Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, it's a phone I wanted to love, you know, wanted to be expected to be using, you know, and it just didn't work out. But on the phone front, I guess, just to kind of keep it to that, if you're listening to this live, I have a potentially interesting choice for you. If you're listening to it later, I do not. And that's because OnePlus today is selling its OnePlus 6 for $100 off from its website.
Wow.
And it is one of the best smartphones I've ever tested. The only downside to it, I guess, if you care about this kind of thing a lot, is that the camera is very good, but it's not excellent. It's not a top tier phone, phone camera like you might get with one of the newer iPhones, the newer Samsungs, obviously the Pixels as well. It is very good, but the rest of it is solid. A couple of other things it doesn't have, by the way, it doesn't have wireless charging, and it doesn't have official support for official certification for waterproofing, although it is water resistant to some degree that they don't discuss because they haven't gone through the process. But just as a highly spec'd modern flagship smartphone, it's a beautiful device. And today, again, it's today only, so it's Tuesday, November 20th as we record this. If you're listening live, you might want to go, and you're in the market for a phone. I think the starting price is like $429, $429. That's incredible. That's an incredible value for that phone. All the specs are completely modern.
Well, I mean, the fact that it is a flagship phone, right? By all accounts. I mean, it's a flagship, and for $430, $440, that's I mean, compared to it, is it $500 less better than an iPhone?
Nope.
You know?
No, it is not. And that's what I mean. It's tremendous value.
Yeah, that's actually a great deal. What I think is going to be a great seller this year, I was on Amazon, and Suncast, if you could get a link in the chat ready for this. The Fire Stick 4K, $34.99.
Right.
That's a great. I mean, listen, it's $50 regularly, right? It's not crazy expensive, but it is amazing how this thing is $34. They're essentially giving this thing
Mhm.
away just so you could be in their ecosystem.
Yeah.
But I did some homework on this because I have a Fire TV, second gen Fire TV. So right before they
Yep.
made the pendant, and I was looking at all the specs, comparing, the Fire Stick, and Suncast sent me this great link of performance specs between the Fire Stick 4K, all the Fire devices that were out over the last couple of years. The second generation Fire TV is still the fastest by far,
That's funny.
which is very
And that's
interesting.
because it's the actual box, so they had more room. So
Yeah.
there's a better processor,
So
venting, and so forth.
So my question, I thought that the Cube, that box one that they released,
Mhm.
that would have been the replacement for that, but it's not.
Sure.
It's not as fast as the second gen Fire TV.
That's funny.
Yeah, really interesting. And the 4K one is a better get than the Cube, but
Yep.
$34.99 for that thing, not bad at all.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
It's also interesting that we're not seeing. The TV deals were out of control, and that's all people were
Right.
talking about were those TV deals. Now it's kind of shifted, right? We're not really talking about TVs as much for Black Friday or Cyber Monday deals. We're talking more about devices like this.
Yeah, I think it's because the market for that has kind of concluded, right? I mean, not everyone literally, but basically everyone already has a great TV, and we're at the point now where we'll ride it out with this TV, and someday it will go south, and we'll replace it, but we're not actively. There's nothing about it that's like it's already 4K, it's HDR. It's a wonderful TV that we happen to have, and
And by the way,
it's
when
two or three
I say the deals aren't there, I'm not saying that there are no deals. I'm saying the importance on these TVs.
Yeah, no, it's not an emphasis anymore. That's what I
Yeah.
mean. I think everyone kind of has one. Like I think it's a couple of years back there was a big race to get everyone off 1080p and onto 4K, and there was a who gets there first kind of thing with obviously the hardware and the specifications, but also with the channels and the cable systems and whatever. And I just as kind of a random aside, a friend of mine on Twitter just pointed out that the Star Wars movies are currently on Netflix, but they're not in 4K. Even though when you buy them on any service, they are in 4K, and obviously they're on Blu-ray if you want to go that way. It's just kind of a goofy hole. It's kind of a weird, like you would want a movie like a huge Hollywood blockbuster. You'd want that thing in 4K. That's the kind of thing we were dealing with a lot. I guess we still are, in some ways dealing with it. But yeah, today it's more along how are you going to watch content on the TV, right? Whether it's a device like what you're talking about or some selection of services, right? If you have Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and whatever YouTube TV or Direct TV now or whatever it is. I think that's more of the discussion these days. What's the best way to do that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, I think it's kind of we are every year we talk about this, and the way that we're consuming content shifts, and that really makes a big play on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, because if you really think about it, you're absolutely right. The way that we're consuming media is very different than it was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Let's talk about smart TVs, right? Do you really need a smart TV?
I don't, but then again, I was out testing this morning. I was testing something that Google had changed with the Chromecast, and I was kind of looking at that, and my TV happens to be a smart TV, right? So I have all these devices connected to it, and then it has its own stuff kind of built in, and so you kind of switch back and forth to different inputs to get what you want. So even though I use Apple type TV primarily, but we have an Amazon device, we have a TiVo, we have an Xbox, we have a Chromecast. There's all kinds of stuff out there, but we kind of choose one just to make it simple. We use Apple TV, and I was trying to figure out the Chromecast thing, and it turns out there's like two things in my living room called living room TV, or they used to be. I actually renamed one of them today, but and I couldn't figure out which one was which. And one of them is the TV itself, right? So you can actually cast to the TV, and it's smart enough. Like I did it from the YouTube app on my phone, and what came up was the YouTube app on my TV, which is really interesting because then you don't have to use your phone as the remote. You can actually use the remote on the TV. It's kind of a beneficial thing. So I don't actually use this feature. I don't, yeah, the apps are on there. They're configured, but I don't use them. I find that I don't know if they're Ryzen or whatever the platform is, but I find them to be kind of slow and buggy, and it's not clear how you kill one if something goes south or whatever. But, you know, as someone who likes kind of a minimalist approach to things, I'm kind of caught in a situation where I have to test stuff because of what I do for a living. But, you know, do I need a smart TV? No, but I could picture just how nice would it be to have a smart TV and that was it, right? Nothing connecting to it. It's connected to power. It's connected to the internet, right? Maybe it's connected to, you know, with a wire to the internet even, I don't know. But if you could use just that one thing, never have to switch inputs, right? Use all the built-in apps, use the remote that came with the TV. I don't know. That's there's a value to that.
So I got my father one of those TCL TVs or what is it? TLC? TCL? TCL. Am I right on this?
I'm not sure what this is.
TV. Yeah, TCL. It's like an off-brand, but it has built-in Roku.
Is TCL for when like China is too fancy?
You know what? It's the new. You know what it is? It's the new Vizio. Remember Vizio when it was first coming up? It was that inexpensive brand. It's one of those now. And actually, the quality, the picture quality, I was surprised. You know, for what I paid. Sure. I think I got him like a 50-inch, and I paid like $240 for it. Right? It's 4K HDR. It has, you know, the bells and whistles. And he just watches Netflix on there, really. But it has Netflix, Hulu, everything's in there because it's built in with my Roku account. That for him is great, right? It's great. But what I hate is that if that software starts to get outdated and sluggish, and if that update for that, you know, for Roku, kind of, you know, after 3 years kind of makes it get crappy, he's kind of still stuck with that interface because it's built into the TV. Your entire experience is that.
Yeah, but that's like saying that, I mean, that's true of a phone. If you're using Android, it's true of, you know, laptop. If you're using Windows, I mean, you know, yeah, I guess you are always, you know, but I think the reason these things are useful is because the same audience there that with normal people, you know, my wife is a smart woman, but she doesn't like dealing with inputs on the TV. She can barely handle it. You know, just being able to turn the thing on and use it is a huge benefit.
Paul, remember the days when we would talk about how the pass-through HDMI on the Xbox was the end-all, be-all? Sure. This was going to solve all those problems of inputs because it had a pass-through. Who did that? It was Google did that with that Logitech one, right? For the Google TV. It was a pass-through.
I don't remember, yeah.
The first one, and it was great.
Right.
For being a pass. I mean, outside of that, they really didn't do anything.
Because, you know, back in the day, we used to have to do IR blasting and all kinds of nonsense to connect smart devices, smart for the day devices to cable systems and so forth.
So Microsoft also has a Black Friday deal going on with the Surface Pro 6, right?
Yeah, they actually have a bunch of Black Friday deals going on. So Xbox One X is going to be $400, which is an awesome deal.
$399. Great deal.
Yeah. They've really the Xbox One S, which is it does 4K entertainment, but not 4K gaming, is priced to a point now where almost anyone could be able to afford it if they wanted to. It's usually about $200. You know, the Xbox One X has since it's been a release, it's been $500, which is a lot of money. Obviously, $400 is a lot of money, but there is a big step up if you care about games. It's kind of a good deal. And then on the computer front, like you said, Surface Pro 6. Surface Laptop 2, and probably some other PCs will be available for various, you know, amounts off. There's some good deals to be had there for sure. Microsoft will also be selling third-party PCs from their store on sale, and then there'll be games and, you know, services and stuff. They typically have like a $1 for 1 month of Game Pass kind of thing going on. So that there's some good stuff there.
So I'm looking here. Surface Pro 6, the 8th Gen i5, 128 gigs SSD with the Platinum type cover, $799, usually $1,059. So that's a nice significant savings.
Usually the tablet's usually $999, and then the type cover is $160 or whatever it is.
The PS4 Slim 1 TB bundled with Spider-Man is now $199.
Yeah, so this
Wow.
is matching the price of the Xbox One S bundles
Yeah.
because those are the comparable consoles.
Yeah. One S
I don't
comes
think
with the Minecraft Creators Bundle.
well, my Xbox One S could come with anything really. There's so many bundles now you can't even keep track of them. In fact, I don't think you could find the console by itself without a game. And even if you were able to somehow find that console, it wouldn't cost any less. So
Yeah.
your real choice is you got to get a bundle. I mean, you're going to get, you're going to spend $200 and it's just the choice of game or games, that you get.
So on Amazon also, we were talking about the OnePlus 6 that you brought up.
Yep.
On Amazon, you could buy the Samsung Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus. S9 for $519, S9 Plus for $639. So $519 is
So
not
it's
that bad.
200
That's
200 or more off. The Note 9 also for sale.
Yeah. I think that's $800, right?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. I mean,
The
there's
Huawei phones are available on, I think, on Amazon and some other places as well. The Mate 20, Mate 20 Pro are fantastic phones, but they're not allowed to sell them to carriers in the United States, so it's kind of a complicated issue there. You got to be sure you know what you're getting into. Unfortunately,
How much is the Mate 10? What one did you say? The Mate 10?
I don't remember the sell prices, but
Huawei Mate 10 is
they're in that
$485.
they're in that range. They're in the same kind of range.
At this point, right, with these flagship devices, does it really only come down to the camera on what separates $1,000 one and a $500 one?
No, not entirely. I mean, for me specifically, the camera is the big deal, and I think that's true for a lot of people. But each of the Samsung, for example, is a really good example of this, and then Huawei is as well. OnePlus is as well. All of them have their own custom user experience that they put on top of Android. So you kind of have to think about that a little bit as well. Samsung's tends to be a little heavy-handed, although I guess they're updating that soon to that new UI, so maybe that will change. If you buy a Google Pixel, you'll have a phone that doesn't work, but at least the UI is clean.
Yeah.
But whatever. But I mean, most of them, the OnePlus UI is actually maybe the cleanest, I would say, of the customized UIs. They don't just arbitrarily start changing everything like Samsung seems to. They tend to go for performance and efficiency, so the changes they make are usually not completely gross.
So let's I want to talk to you. Well, we'll get back to some of these deals as I kind of see more come in, but I do want to ask you about because it seems like the big push this holiday season is going to be the smart displays, right? Lenovo has a smart display. Google, everybody's making a smart display now. Yeah. This seems to be the big push. You had your hands on the Lenovo smart display, right? You actually did a review of this. I want to get your opinion of who this is for, who's going to buy it, and if this is going to become a thing.
Right. Well, I mean, how do I say it? I think a smart display is kind of a crucial piece of this ecosystem, right? And it doesn't matter, Amazon has their own smart display as well, by the way. So there's an Echo Show 2 that's out now. Same theory. The idea is that you have a smart speaker and you're adding a display to it. And what does that bring to the table? So from the get-go, it does everything a smart display does. It acts, in the case of the Google stuff, it is a Google Home. You can say, hey, G, and, do whatever, go back and forth, all the same stuff. You can use it to play music and podcasts and listen to news and ask it questions and whatever, all the stuff that those things do. The display adds actually a ton of stuff, and it's kind of interesting how it improves things. So, for example, if you think about something as simple as that you're asking about the weather, obviously the thing can read you back the weather, which it does. But when you have a display, it shows you the weather forecast for the next several days as well.
Yeah. And
so it's kind of a nice thing there where you get this additional information. There are interactive things, like you can go through a recipe. I want a recipe for fried chicken. And you can pick the one you want, and then it's interactive. It shows you a big screen with all of the ingredients you need. And then it will step through one at a time. And you can say to it, go to the next step, go to the previous step. Sometimes there will be videos you can watch. It will show you how to do some complex, bit of preparation. So that's kind of cool. We use it a lot for the photo slideshow stuff. So the ambient mode of the device, we've set up it's like a smart live folder. It's called actually, I think it's called a live album or whatever it is. It's got about 10,000 photos of my family in it. Google selected the photos. It does AI-based facial recognition on my Google Photos collection. And every day we see these incredible photos of my family throughout the years. I mean, so my son when he was 3, my son when he was 11, my son 2 weeks ago. Google's AI is smart enough to know that's the same guy, no matter what age he was. And that's been transformative to us because it's become a source of discussion. You go in and like, oh, remember that place? Like, it's not necessarily like a favorite photo that we'd saved separately at one point in our lives, but it is a photo from an important event or a trip or whatever it might be. And it's of our kids or our family or whatever. And that kind of stuff is really neat as well. You can do video calling on it, right? So on the Google one, it's through Duo. But what that means is that someone could be out in the world with a smartphone and you could you can switch it on to portrait mode. You could have a video call. So my wife could be preparing dinner or whatever she's doing in the kitchen, and my son could be calling from college, and they could be on video using this device. And so when you kind of ask, like, who's this for? I think I've just described a pretty broad range of general consumer stuff that it's kind of for anybody.
So okay, so I'm gonna throw in a question. Why would I pick this over a tablet?
Because it is a stationary device that sits in your kitchen and becomes part of your thing. Also, remember, as we move to ambient computing, we're in this interim phase. In the future, this stuff will just be everywhere. There'll be little microphones and sensors, and they'll be built into lights and switches and things. They'll be everywhere. Today, you have to explicitly buy something that puts that stuff around your house. And so a year or two ago, the only choice was an Alexa or an Echo-based smart speaker of some kind. They have different sizes and shapes and whatever. Or on the Google front, it would be a Google Home, whatever. So we have a couple of those. We have some Google Home Minis. We have a couple of normal-sized Google Homes. We have that's it for that stuff. And then now they have these things that have screens, right? So smart displays. And so you might not want a smart display everywhere in the house, right? You don't necessarily need that level of feedback everywhere, right? So if I'm standing out in my sunroom and I'm like, hey, gee, what's the weather? And it says, Paul, today it's blah, 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 whatever. That's fine. That's all I need to hear. But when you're in the kitchen, your hands are dirty maybe, or you're holding stuff and you're doing, you want more information. Or you might be in a situation where you just want to watch a YouTube video or whatever it might be. It's on the screen. You can also use it as a hub to control the smart devices in your house, right? So if you're using smart lights and security devices, there's a screen it's a touch screen. It swipes and it has all that stuff there as well. So you can use your voice, you can use your fingers, you can see things, and it's interactive as well. It's not just like a dumb photo, whatever. And it's there. It's always, the point is it's there. The tablet's cool because you're with it, but you're not always with it. And you can walk into the kitchen and say, hey, G, and off you go. And never have to worry about it being there.
So I'm one of these people. I always have my tablet in my kitchen on the counter. When I'm cooking, I always have it there. And, I'm looking up videos. It's something like my brothers are over, my wife is here, and we're cooking. I'll put on some video. I was showing her something I was showing her. I'll put on Spotify. I'll look up a recipe. So that I get the benefit of that. Is it the fact that it's simplified? It's a very simplistic look to it where you could do it immediately rather than having to fumble around a little bit?
Yeah, it's that like I said, it's that combination. You can talk to your tablet. Like, I get that. I mean, but there's something a little bit more natural about this device than propping up a tablet in the kitchen. And the other thing is it only costs a couple $100, right? So
$149
something
about,
that,
yeah.
It looks good in the kitchen. It's kind of a nice, that's the other big initiative this year. Google and Amazon both have taken their own devices and made them more kind of natural looking and less tech looking. They're kind of trying to hit for a more of a mainstream audience. You wouldn't be too worried about flicking olive oil or something on the screen like you would maybe on your $1,000 iPad Pro or whatever. It's also, like you use it the way you use it, and that's great. But I mean, I bring my tablet with me when I travel. So this thing is, it's like a hub, and it's in the kitchen for a reason. I think that's the right place for it. And it's something my entire family uses. It's not just me. On a tablet, there's no real sense of multi-user, at least on an iPad type tablet. Obviously, with assistance, there is the sense of multi-user. It does voice recognition. So when my wife goes in there and says, "Hey, G, I'd like to listen to some classic rock or whatever," it knows it's her, so it goes to her account. It knows her account is configured for Spotify, and that's where that thing's going to come from. But when I walk in and say the same thing, mine's configured for Google Play Music.
Oh, that's just so it knows.
And it does that kind of thing too.
Yeah. I think that's really where I'm curious to see how well they go this holiday season, because this is going to be a nice test for that to see. You know, I mean, the price point is right, 149,
yeah.
150.
There's choice out there. I recommend the Lenovo one over the Google one, by the way.
Really?
And the reason is because it has a camera for one thing, and respecting people's privacy. Google did this kind of goofy thing when they announced the Google Home Hub, which is just a smart display. And they said, they're like, we understand. You're going to put it next to the bed, and you don't want to think Google's staring at you all night. So we didn't even put a camera in it. And like, that's cute. But rather than build a trustworthy computing platform that, people actually do trust, what you could have done was put a camera in it and put a shutter on the camera, so it could just be off when you're not using it. And that's what Lenovo did. So there's actually obvious and nice hardware switches where you can pull a shutter over the camera, or you can switch off the microphone. And so if you're worried about this thing sitting there listening to you for some reason, it can't. It's off. So I recommend the Lenovo one. Personally.
I like that people's concerns, like with these devices, are, well, what if Google's watching and listening? Well, what if Google's watching and listening on any of the other devices that we have? I have the same. It's interesting, right? How people think, like, they're not thinking like, oh, maybe they're listening on my phone or on my tablet or on my laptop. That's not as prominent in their minds as, well, this thing is next to my bed. Maybe it's listening to me.
Yeah, I mean, the Google Home thing, like I said, in the future, this stuff's just going to be everywhere. In the meantime, we have to kind of put some things around the house to make that happen if you want to use voice control.
Do you think Google's going to be the winner when we look back at this era of these smart devices, and between Google Home and Amazon and everybody else? Because Google is kind of behind still. They're not the obviously. I think I know more people personally that have an Amazon device than they do a Google device.
Yep.
In that sense, but
I'm not interested in your anecdotal data, Andrew. So that's fascinating. No, Amazon was first to market for sure. Yeah. So, and that's worked out well for them. But no, Google wins this. There's no doubt about it. But winning in this case doesn't mean 90% share to 10% share. It could be 60-40 or even 55-45 or whatever the math is.
Do we know what it's at right now?
I know that Google surpassed Amazon this year worldwide, and then interestingly, in the most recent quarter in the United States, according to, I don't have the thing in front of me, but according to someone, Amazon actually regained the lead. But this is you can't beat Google at this. This is Google's bread and butter. Yeah. This is the type of thing they're great at.
I think, like, for a lot of techie people, Google's lack of integration when they launched compared to Amazon's integration made a big difference. Like when I got my Google Home, a year and a half, 2 years ago, it was a waste of a device, because the amount of integration that I had compared to one of my Amazon devices was very few. It was lacking. Now, now it's a whole different ball game, right? It's really.
But the other thing is that you're in the Google ecosystem. When you got out in your car, you're not using Amazon's thing. You're using Google's, because you get somewhere and you trust them to get you there. You can do things like talk to the smart display before you go on a trip, see what the traffic looks like, and then you're going to go out in the car and use the same exact tool to make that happen. So there's no way they don't win this. It's just a question of by what degree. But that doesn't mean Amazon's doomed. I think Amazon is the second biggest player. It will, as these things conclude or play out, and they're still going to be huge. So you can't make a bad bet going in either direction.
Yeah, it's. What do you use more in your house?
I only use Google.
You're only using Google. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because everyone has it on their phones.
Yeah, it's right there. I mean, that's really what's going to win them.
The Amazon stuff is infuriating, by the way. So I'm going to go off on a little digression, but I use the Audible app all the time, which is an Amazon thing. They don't support Chromecast. So I can't easily cast a podcast I'm listening to any of the devices in my house, even though I can do it with every music service on earth and with every podcast app on earth. Android phone or the Android operating system supports the ability to cast screens. So I can cast a screen to a speaker and then play Audible and it will work. But it's kind of like a workaround. It's a stupid thing. And so I'm sure in the Amazon ecosystem, if I had Fire devices or something around my house, in fact, Amazon just a month ago or a month and a half ago introduced their own version of a Chromecast. So you can do what I'm describing using their ecosystem. They're fighting with Google in this case. And it's just kind of frustrating because obviously when it comes to audiobooks, there's Audible and then there's nothing else. Basically, I know there are other things, but
that fight between Google and Amazon is so silly, and it's really affecting Amazon no longer has YouTube, a YouTube app.
Right.
So what you have to do is Amazon kind of patched it by using their Silk browser.
Sure.
So you use the Silk browser, and it reverts you to just YouTube's mobile page or whatever that page is for that.
Yep.
So that's how you use it. But there's no YouTube TV on the Amazon device.
Right.
So that kind of sucks. That kind of puts you back. So really,
Chromecast support is available in all kinds of third-party apps on the iPhone. It's just a thing. It's there. The existence of AirPlay 2 or whatever on the iOS platform doesn't prevent Chromecast from working too. It's stupid of Amazon not to support this.
Yeah, I don't know. That's another weird market, right? These smart devices, these set-top boxes from a couple years ago. Roku, Amazon, and Apple are really the three that people talk
I don't
about.
think it's going to change.
And that's not
there's
really
no excitement there. There's nothing
by the
there.
way, Google has no share in this. They have no.
No,
nothing.
they tried twice at least, maybe 3 times. I don't remember. They have Chromecast,
and that's their device.
Yeah, Chromecast is okay. It's fine, but I don't like the remote not working. Like I said, that was kind of the cool thing with the Smart TV, which I just noticed today. I was just experimenting with it, so I cast from YouTube the app on my phone to my Smart TV. And it actually brought up the Smart TV app version of YouTube, meaning I could then navigate and pause and whatever with the remote, which to me is the big lacking thing with Chromecast, the inability to have a hardware remote control that's not your phone, because your phone goes to sleep and stuff. So you want to hit a button and say stop.
I'm looking at Android TV's webpage.
Yeah.
Trying to see.
There's a Mi Box upgrade that just came out recently that's pretty cheap, and I think if you buy it now, I don't know if it's on Amazon or whatever.
Which one? The Mi Box
you get
S?
a free, yeah, probably.
Might be it.
You get a free Google Home Mini, I think. But
let's see.
Android TV is never. It's just not there.
Can you get this on Amazon? Let's see.
It's like
buy it at Walmart.
Is it Huawei or who makes Mi Box? Is it
Xiaomi.
Xiaomi.
I think it's that. Let's see. How much is this thing? You can buy it for $59 at Walmart. I guarantee this is not available on Amazon. Let's see.
Maybe that's where I saw it was Walmart.
No, you can buy it on Amazon for $63, and the NVIDIA Shield is also on sale for people who love this thing, which a lot of our viewers do. That I think it's $139 for this thing. I've never heard a negative thing about this device. Every time we talk about these,
it runs Android TV. So this does, Android TV is nice because it's a superset of Chromecast, so you don't get that stuff. It does have the hardware remote. I guess that's the.
Well, it's funny because every time we talk about these devices, I'll get like 4 or 5 emails from people saying, hey, you didn't bring up the Shield, the NVIDIA Shield. Right. What about the NVIDIA Shield? And I still don't have one. I thought I ordered it. I don't know what happened.
I don't think this is a mainstream consumer device. I think
no, I guess it's for performance, right? You're buying this and you're getting great performance with it.
Okay. I've never used my Apple TV and thought, man, if this thing would just perform better. It works great. Yeah. What are you talking about? The problem with the Apple TV is the remote, but you can solve that with
with what, Paul?
programmable remote, like a Logitech.
I guess
whatever.
so. That remote is absolutely terrible. The other thing Amazon did great is they upgraded the remote for the Fire TVs, and now it has a power button and it has a volume control.
Yeah,
so
they
you
work
don't need
with
a
the
second.
TV.
Yeah, that'll work with the TV. So that's actually a huge.
Yep.
For people to have a
All
Fire
of the
TV.
devices turn on my TV and control the volume. I think the Roku does that. The Apple TV does that. Yeah, it's nice.
So you think these smart displays they're gonna sell well this season?
I think they were blockbuster for a few years there, and I think now they're just. Oh, I'm sorry, smart displays.
Yeah, smart displays.
No, I don't think they're the second coming. I think they're a new piece in this kind of puzzle of ambient computing. And so, once you get past the fact that these assistants exist, you have to have these things around the house. And so the Google Home stuff or the Amazon Echo stuff was kind of the first wave of that. Honestly, you'll probably still have more of those devices around the house. So if you were an Amazon household, just to kind of change the story a little bit, you might put an Echo Show in the kitchen. And, depending on how you spend your day, it depends on what you do, right? So you could picture some people saying, well, actually, I want one of these in the bathroom because when I get ready in the morning, I like to have the news on or, whatever it might be. You might want to have one next to the bed for some reason. I would never do that, but, whatever. But for the most part, you have one of those things. But then for the rest of the house, what you might want are some of those, whatever the little one, the Echo Dot. You might scatter a couple of those around. They're cheap. And then if you're really in the Amazon, I almost said intestinal tract or whatever, but if you're that far into the Amazon thing, God love you, but maybe you buy a couple of those little Amazon Chromecast things, whatever they're called, who cares, but connect them to some speaker sets around the house. Now you get whole house audio or multi-room audio, whatever it is. Now you can walk around the house and talk to it. And it doesn't matter what room you're in. You could have speakers out. I have a sunroom where I have speakers. I'm using Google, but let's pretend it's Amazon. I could be in my dining room talking to a little Amazon Echo Dot controlling the music that I'm hearing from out in the other room. You can set this up. It's just a way to do it. It's not.
I guess it's whatever you're initially in and you continue being in. That's really what it comes down to. Normal people don't change their ecosystems that they've already bought. If you bought two Google Minis, you're not going to go and end up buying an Amazon device for the other two. You're going to continue buying in the same sphere.
It depends. So people do change ecosystems occasionally. They don't flip around. I mean, sometimes you have a bad enough experience with something. If you had like a Windows PC and you were having 3 years of bad luck, you might walk into Best Buy or an Apple store the next time you shop and say, I'm looking at Mac this time. It was bad. And there's going to be some pain there because you have to buy new apps or whatever it is. The ecosystem for these smart device or for these assistants, I guess we'll say, is a little less sticky. And I think it actually makes it easier to switch. It depends on what you've purchased, right? And so in the situation I just described, the expensive things are really the speakers, which are not attached to any ecosystem. And then I guess the smart display is a couple $100, but most of the stuff that's expensive is not related to that stuff. So, Google Home Minis or Amazon Echo Dots are $30 to $50 a piece at best. I'm not saying this is not an expense. It is, but I mean, replacing 2 or 3 of those around your house, it's not like buying a car. I mean, it's possible. So if you, I don't know, I don't, there's not a reason to do it, but the stuff you're spending money on is the Philips Hue lights, the Nest security system, the smart thermostat, the speakers, the powered speakers maybe, because, Sonos, for example, you could spend a lot of money on Sonos speakers. That's not what I'm doing, but you could. And today the newer ones are compatible with Amazon's thing. And sometime in early 2019, they'll be compatible to Google as well. And so you can integrate that into your little whole house, whatever you're doing, So it's not a one-way dead-end street, right? Like a lot of these ecosystems are.
No, that's a good thing, right? That's positive.
Yeah. Well, by the way, you were talking about set-top boxes, right? So we use an Apple TV pretty much universally, I would say, but we have these other things, right? And so what keeps us off the other things? For some of the apps we use, the Apple version for some reason is better. There's that. If you look at the Netflix app across all these things, whatever. We have purchased a lot of content from Apple in the form of movies mostly, but a couple of TV shows as well. So that stuff just works on the Apple TV, whereas it kind of doesn't work on these other systems. But because of Movies Anywhere, so 2/3 ish of the movies we bought, I can actually get on Roku on some app, like on the Google Play Music and or movie and TV app or an YouTube app. I can get them on the Amazon device. I could get them on an Android TV. Not all of them, like 2/3 of them. But that kind of eases the path. If I wanted to switch, because honestly, it's not, other than the content, it's not a big deal to say, here's a box with a remote. Here's another box with a remote. Why don't you use that instead? Right?
Yeah.
A couple of minutes to learn the UI. You're good to go. You can always use the best one.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you look on Amazon right now, and they're really pushing their. I mean, obviously they're pushing their products, but I mean that front and center. It's an Echo. It's the Fire Stick. It's the Cube. It's
notice they have their own. Amazon's doing something that for them is pretty classic with this stuff. They're coming out with their own smart lights, right?
Yeah. So
yeah,
what,
you can do.
I saw those, but I didn't understand where. Is it their own smart lights?
Yeah. So obviously they also sell Philips and other smart lights, but the idea here is, well, actually in this case, they're not their own, but I thought they were selling their own. Never mind. These are someone else's. So they're just a cheap other thing. But this is something, if they're not already in, they will get into, because like I said, they're doing their own Chromecast type thing. They're looking at the ecosystem and they're saying, well, where can we do our thing that's our name on it? And for a lot of people, and this is important because it's normal people, right? Could be older people, whatever it might be. They view Amazon as safe, and there's a value there. They know it's going to be inexpensive, relatively speaking. The smart lights that are on the Amazon homepage, for example, are probably 50% or less of the cost of the equivalent Philips Hue light bulbs. I don't know anything about their quality or whatever, and it looks like they actually the other systems.
The Amazon ones that they're bundling with.
Mm-hmm.
Singled?
I thought it was. I literally thought it was an Amazon brand, but it's well, maybe it is an Amazon brand. So actually, you know what? They don't always say Amazon, do they? So if you go to just go to a page for that product, you might discover that is in fact an Amazon brand.
It says buy singled.
No, but if you go to the page,
yeah,
it will say an Amazon brand. But let me see if it is. I mean, it may not be. Let's see. It was no. This one may not be, but a lot of Amazon brands are not branded Amazon.
Interesting.
And if you look down the page, you'll see. Oh, you'll see it. We'll say it somewhere. I don't see it here, so maybe it's not. Maybe
these lights are. I'm curious. Let's see. So it's. Let's say floodlights, $32 for 2 of them.
Yep.
$15
so what are
a piece.
How much are 2 floodlights from Philips Hue? I bet they're like $75.
Probably expensive. Let's find out. The singled color solo. So this one sings music to you. It has a speaker in it. Let me just find one. Okay. So a 2-pack is $59. A 4-pack is $100 for the color lights. Right? Let's go.
From who?
Singled. Let's look at Philips Hues. Philips Hue. One Philips Hue is $50.
Yeah, they're expensive.
4 of them go for $193.
Yeah, there you go.
So it's double the price almost.
Yep.
Yeah, double the price. So it's
Amazon. I mean, when you look through their ecosystem, it's kind of amazing how much stuff they've added. They have smart plugs, security products, obviously, lights now. Well, actually, I guess they don't have their own lights, but they're kind of doing. It's kind of a classic strategy, right? You'll sell everything, of course, but you can, as the retailer, you can do what Google does with search results, and instead of pushing people toward your own services, as Google is doing, you push people toward your products. And the way you push them there, well, you can do it explicitly, but you make them less expensive,
Yeah, I made the mistake and I didn't integrate the smart stuff in my outlet that we replaced. So I'm gonna have to get like these smart plugs. Like Wemo makes a smart plug that's 20 something dollars. Like Amazon even makes them now too. This one has a 4-pack for $39.
Yep.
Amazon is $24. Their smart plug. So I mean, they're all about the same price, but that's really what's gonna. Once you start getting a couple of those plugs and putting it here and putting it there, next thing you know, you have like 40 of them over a couple of years, and now your whole house is connected. You know, you got a smart switch and you got a smart plug. That's when it becomes integrated, and you kind of realize how much electricity you're consuming, what devices are using up the most, what's wasted, what's not. That's the only way to really figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got really crazy with like a kilowatt switch, and I had a kilowatt upstairs, and I had a kilowatt down. This is in the early days. It wasn't smart. It just registered, and it told you what it was
how
doing.
much you were doing. Yeah.
And I went nuts with that stuff, and then I just stopped because it was getting so expensive to kind of have to, constantly, because these plugs weren't, we're not talking $24 5 years ago. These were like $50-$60. Some of these smart plugs.
Yep.
It is amazing how that's become the stocking stuffer. It's these weird smart plug. Yeah, you know what? If you got a smart plug from somebody, wouldn't you be like, "Oh, that's pretty cool, thanks." Imagine giving someone like an outlet, like a regular outlet, and be like, "Here, Merry Christmas. Here you go. Here's a surge
one tiny
protector.
part of your house is going to be smart. Congratulations."
Yeah, it is amazing. Before we continue, guys, we also do a bonus show here, and it helps us out, and it keeps us chugging along here. If you go to patreon.com/whatthetech, you can fund our bonus shows as little as $1 per episode, and you get to hear Paul and I banter about nonsense after each and every show that we do. Patreon.com.
So before we wrap this up.
Yes. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
No, Patreon.com/whatthetech. That's Patreon.com/whatthetech.
I did want to mention one potential virtual stocking stuffer, something you can just buy for yourself. Brad, that I work with over at BWW, has written a book about Surface, which is called Beneath a Surface. And if you go to beneathasurface.com, you can pre-order it. I think it's going to be out 29th, 30th, somewhere right around the end of the month. But I'm actually going through the final round of edits on that book, so I've actually read it twice now. It's a great book, and if you're into the Microsoft history stuff, I think this will be a nice addition.
What's the website?
Beneathasurface.com.
Let's see. Beneathasurface.com. Very excited. Good for Brad.
Yeah.
He's an author now. He wrote a book.
And this is apropos of nothing, but I happen to notice, if you're into this kind of thing, that the Monument Valley games on Android are $1 each today. I think they're usually like $10 or something. $5. Nice. I don't know. They're usually kind of expensive, but if you're looking for something
I'm going through like these circulars and stuff that we see every time. And it's the same thing. It's like $150 off a TV I really don't need. Yeah. It's another $100 off something. I think we're in the phase where Black Friday and Cyber Monday, it happens year round. These deals are happening constantly. So I don't know if there's that much of a significance with running out of the door. Oh my God, this is nuts, actually. A Philips Hue white and color outdoor light strip, 16 feet, $159.
Yeah, if you want to do outdoor lighting, it's super expensive. That stuff's brand new to this year.
Yeah, that's crazy expensive. I mean, do they have an indoor version of this? I'm curious what the indoor version is.
Yeah, they do. They're really expensive. We have one on the back of the TV.
$89. $89. And it's smart, so I guess that's why. I mean, it's the same strips that I have behind me. Essentially, it's the same exact stuff, and I buy a giant roll from China for $30.
Yeah, right. But you can't control it through the Philips Hue app, which is terrible.
Yes, and it doesn't connect to your TV provider. Right? Isn't that the gimmick? It connects to the TV provider, and you're able to kind of the color changes
dynamic based on the content you're playing. Apparently, I've never even tried to make that work, but yeah, that's supposed to be a feature.
I'm curious to see how that works.
Right,
like it says in their ad, it says the lights change when your team scores.
Yeah, it will. It's supposed to change with music if you're playing music as well. I've never done this.
Interesting. I'm curious to try that out. Very cool. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Hey, if you're watching live, stay tuned. You could fund. You go to patreon.com/whatthetech. Watch it there. Or if you're watching live, stay tuned. We're going to air it live for free. You can check out what Paul and I are going to talk about. I actually have something cool behind me here, and I want Paul to guess what it is when we begin. All right, guys, that's it for this week. See you later.